we have a culture right now that's developing that is very drama driven.
Right.
The posts that in the Facebook group that get the most engagements are the ones where somebody's throwing mud,
Yeah.
and then boom, other people get riled up. Next thing you know, I mean, I got to delete the whole post because people are not being very nice.
Right.
and, and can you talk about that? How can we address the drama driven culture?
Yeah.
I'll lob that softball over to you, man.
That's great.
Welcome to MetaVersed, the podcast where Jason Earls and Aaron Sorrells navigate the explosive growth in the metaverse. Buckle up because we are in for a heck of a ride.
Jason, good to see you, man.
Likewise, brother. I'm glad we both got the memo about the white shirts, brother.
Yeah, well, I'm all dolled up for you today because I just came from hosting the Laughter RX symposium, which was super cool. It's okay. All right, so I'm gonna start right off and tell you about this because, I'm on a high right now because
Yeah.
how much knowledge I just absorbed. So Gilda's club in Grand Rapids here started a thing called LaughFest.
Okay.
Super cool comedy festival. Pre-pandemic, it was the longest or the longest running comedy festival, not
Right.
start to finish, but as far as number of days in a row, it's a
Yeah.
10-day comedy festival. Post-pandemic, they're back to 5 days, which is still pretty cool.
Wow.
But Gilda's club is a cancer and grief counseling center. Basically, it's a support group that named after Gilda Radner.
Yeah.
And so like this connection of laughter and healing, laughter and recovery, it's central to all this. So they like 3 years ago, they started putting together this symposium for healthcare workers, for nurses and social workers.
Yeah.
And they bring in speakers to talk about the science behind laughter and health. And it's awesome. So I
Ooh.
sit on the committee for that group, and and they asked if I would come in and host it. So I got to just sit in front of the fire hose and learn. Whew,
Sheesh.
man, hey, I don't know if you know this, but laughter, come to find out, is a pretty good thing.
Yeah. Dude, I wish I could have. You got to drop some nuggets, share some notes when you get a chance, man.
It's funny because right before you called in, I was actually just reviewing through some of the notes, and I won't get into all of it because I can't. But I mean, here I've got like about 15 different benefits that I wrote down, that there's some kind of science, and this gal, Nancy Norton, she's a nurse and a comedian. She was just spitting these with sources, but I don't have the sources, but I got the knowledge and the info.
Yeah.
So here's some of the physical benefits of humor and laughter. It boosts your immunity. It lowers the stress hormone. So in other words, like when you laugh, it signals to your body that the threat has passed. It decreases pain. Like if you are experiencing pain and you laugh, it will decrease
Wow.
pain. She referred to it as an indigenous morphine, which I don't know what that means, but
Wow.
it relaxes your muscles, it facilitates blood flow, and it improves your memory. Like if you hear something and laugh, it'll anchor that memory. So that's just the physical benefits. The mental
Wow.
benefits: it eases anxiety and fear. It relieves stress. It actually will increase your optimism. If you laugh, you will be more optimistic.
Jeez.
It enhances your resilience. It improves your problem solving ability. It increases the aha moments or the revelation. Like, by the way, I can see each one of these. You're like, give me, because I know it.
I
But and
stopped
there's just
writing. I was like, I can't even keep up now.
right. You're like, I'll get it when I hear the podcast. Okay,
Jeez.
so it increases your perspective, like a diverse perspective, being able to
Yeah.
look at things in different ways. And then here's the social, family, and work benefits. One, it makes you more attractive.
Yay.
Yeah.
6 kids.
six kids. Hashtag 6 kids.
Right.
It strengthens relationships. I mean, you and I, like, we haven't spent that much time physically together, but man, we got a strong relationship, and
Absolutely.
that laughter helps. It enhances teamwork. It diffuses conflict. If there's conflict going on and there's laughter introduced, it'll diffuse that conflict. And then also it just helps for bonding. How's that for a list?
Bro, that's just amazing, dude. And just that underscores the value of what we do and what you do, what you set up in the metaverse, brother.
Oh man, there is a lot of laughter coming through the soapstone there. Yeah, a lot of people laughing.
Yeah,
It's
dude. I was talking about Soapstone yesterday on a I guess on a broadcast.
uh-huh.
There's a comedian by the name of Akintunde.
Mm,
Probably Akintunde is probably, I would say, the most influential um comedian on the black gospel circuit.
mm.
Dude, I mean, I love this brother, man. And he's doing some amazing things. So it's kind of like when it comes to like comedy, specifically in the Christian world, it's kind of like it's like Christian music. It's kind of like you
Yeah,
got that, you got one group over here, typically the, what do they call it, the CMA,
yeah.
and then the GMA,
Uh,
yeah. So you got like the Kurt Franklins, the Donna McKirklands, the Israel Houghton's kind of blend of both.
right, yeah.
Yeah, and then over here you got Amy Grant, the Chris Tomlin, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
And so
right.
everybody, that's kind of,
Yeah.
Aaron and I met kind of on the Chris Tomlin conference.
Right. But there is the more GMA comedy conference, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's so we got the Christian Comedy Association. Then you got the Living on Laughter Gospel Association.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so man, so Akintunde is, man, he's crushing it. I mean, man, he's an amazing producer. He's produced commercials, nationwide commercials for Denny's. The people, like, very well sought after. And so we were
Yeah.
talking about the metaverse, and I was telling him about the Soapstone. Like, man, you need to come up in the Soapstone.
Right.
Maybe we get a black gospel night. No.
Hey, yeah, I'm all about it. I'm all about. By the way, you're making waves in there. I've heard from a couple people that have said that they've seen you in there and enjoyed it, and enjoyed talking to you and whatnot. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah. However, when you're in there, it's rippling.
Yeah, man, it's funny, man. I was in there. I showed up in the Soapstone, and it was one guy in there. I forget his name. And so he started, and the beautiful thing is, I love showing up in the Soapstone when nobody's there, because it makes me work on, like, get some awkward kinks out of my set, out
Oh
of
yeah,
my online presence.
yeah,
It's so good because part of I fall back into that amateur state where
oh
nobody's in
yeah,
here, like the insecurities of, like, man, I don't want to get up there and, like, this is gonna be awkward. And I
yeah.
make myself get on stage and fight through the awkwardness, man. It's so cool. And so I've kind of made this deal with myself, is I don't show up in the metaverse unless I can get on stage.
Mm.
So if I'm gonna show up, I need to get on stage at least one time, run one joke real quick,
Man,
just
that's
just to
good.
sharpen that axe.
Yeah.
If it's if I gotta go somewhere else right quick and find some way to get on stage, and like ain't nobody in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because like yo, I don't necessarily want to ruin. Let me try this out in an awkward state. Then let me go
Yeah,
into Soapstone and get
yeah,
somewhere. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, there's not only value to that, to pushing out of the comfort zone of like a big audience, but seeking out that awkwardness. There's
yeah,
not only value in that, but there's also excitement and adrenaline in that.
yeah,
Man, to walk it, like I ended up in the Soapstone, and this rarely happens, but I was in there, and there wasn't a single person in there that I knew or even knew who I was.
yeah.
So I mean, I'm like walking around and nobody knows who I am, and I'm like, all right, I'm getting up and I'm doing a set, and
Oh,
I
nice.
did, and it started a little bit rocky. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, is this thing on? People are having full blown conversations, and but I mean, I worked through it. I pushed through it, and it was all right.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. Which, if you're gonna do that, you can't go unprepared. You gotta like, okay, what
Oh
am I gonna
yeah.
say?
Yeah, right. You can't have that fallback like, oh, I can always just start talking to the audience and it's gonna,
Right. Yeah. So anyway, so I was in the Soapstone doing this, and one guy came in, and we just started talking. He was like, "Yeah, I like." He was like, "Tell me a joke," and I was like, "Well, I was telling him my process, and I got up there and did it in front of him,
uh
and then I got off stage and was like, all right, you go now,' and he was like, nah." I just tell little jokes now, every now and then. And then he started telling me some. They were actually pretty good.
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, dude, get on stage with it. And then I was like, okay, I got on stage and I showed him how I would do that joke. But
Nice.
then told him, like, hey, but that's not my joke, it's yours. He tried to give it to me. I'm like, no, you take it. Find
Yeah,
something to do with it because it's funny. Even if it's
yeah.
not being on stage with it, find some type of way to put it in print
There you go.
or make a meme out of it, but just
Yeah,
somewhere don't just sit on the joke. Go ahead and be empowered with the joke. And so for me, that and that's the beauty of Soapstone. It's I keep telling people, man, it's more than just a comedy club now.
yeah,
It's this social space where you go and man, and the best way I could describe it is imagine a comedy club that's kind of like Cheers, the TV
yeah,
show.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's
When you
that's a good
like to
description.
get
I also
away.
heard the description. Yeah, yeah. Get it. So I heard a description that I really liked. And somebody said that the Soapstone is like an amateur's comedy club, which at first that like stuck with me like, ooh, wait a minute, no, we got pros coming through here too.
Yeah,
But he wasn't saying it as an insult. He was saying it as a positive thing. He's
right.
like, this is an accessible comedy club. This is a comedy club where people feel comfortable, where they can come in and just try something.
That's good.
And I was like, ooh, all right, all
That's
right.
good, man. That's so
Yeah,
good. And underscoring the culture of it, man.
yeah.
It's just like that's dude, so proud of you, dude. You
Oh,
crushing
well,
it, man.
and you, man. I mean, you like the role that you have already played in this. And again, like when I say you're making ripples, like I mean, I got people coming up to me saying, "Oh, I met Jason in here." So the
Yeah.
people are hearing this podcast, seeing us on here if they're watching the video cast, and then seeing you in there, and you're impacting people. Man, you
Wow.
you are building the Soapstone. It's awesome, and it's going well. Like I
Yeah,
got
that's
some stats updates. Like so, we now have had over 47,000 visitors through the Soapstone. By the way, that's up 3,500 from last week.
sheesh.
So we continue to snowball. We continue to have people that come in. I was talking to a community guide, and somebody came into Horizon for the first time and was like, "How do I get to this comedy club that I've heard about?" Like, by the way, that doesn't hurt my feelings when the people that are employed by Meta and Horizon are hearing people come in and say, "Hey, I heard about the Soapstone, so I'm here."
Right.
You know.
Yeah,
But
and
we we
Go ahead.
still overall visitors per week, we've still got over 10,000 weekly visitors. So that's an interesting number. That means that about call it 65 to 70% of our visitors are return visitors.
Wow.
So that's a big deal right there. People are spending time there. We're still at about a 19-minute average visit, which is an eternity
Yeah.
in virtual reality land. And the Team Soapstone, that Facebook group, we're now up to over 1,200 members, which is up 10% from last week. Man, and
Wow.
you got 10% weekly growth. That's wild.
Dude, that is amazing, bro. So, dude, I saw something that I saw a problem that I'm intrigued about.
Okay. All right. Well, it's funny. Okay, I want you to say that, but I'll tell you the thing that's on my heart that I want to talk to you about is
Yeah.
problems. But tell me what you saw.
No, I saw it posted. I saw a bunch of people hovered around the keypad, and it said that the backstage code had been compromised.
I know the post you're talking about. Yeah, and it was all right. So the code, like, oh my goodness, this code. Like, I decided to be kind of smart, and I changed the code because it had already been leaked out to everybody. So I changed it, and I changed it to 8675, which of course goes in with that song 86753, and like people like that, and they were making jokes about it, and it took
Yeah.
about 4 seconds for it to get leaked, and then somebody posted that and said the code has been compromised. somebody made a world somebody made a world called the Soapstone code, and it was just a photo of 8675. Like, that
Wow.
took about a half hour for somebody to get out there and do. So we had to rethink the whole thing, and we've got it worked out now to where everybody now has access backstage. I'm like, you know what? Let's just open it up. If we're not going to be able to keep it a secret, let's just open it up.
Right.
And then we moved the keypad up to the tech booth. So if somebody needs to get temporary access so they can get on stage anytime they want, or they can get in the tech booth, an existing tech will bring them up. They can type in the code and then go.
Gotcha.
But
That's good.
yeah. But I mean, it's so the thing I've been struggling with is, you and I have talked about how culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yeah.
How important culture is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of things that are happening with our culture that are very concerning to me.
Okay.
There's things that I'm seeing that I'm like, man, we gotta nip this in the bud somehow. We gotta shift the direction we're going. And frankly, I mean, I feel powerless to do it. I don't
Mm.
I don't know how I can do it. And the one is exactly what you're talking about. The code has been compromised. We have a culture right now that's developing that is very drama driven.
Right.
The posts that in the Facebook group that get the most engagements are the ones where somebody's throwing mud,
Yeah.
and then boom, other people get riled up. Next thing you know, I mean, I got to delete the whole post because people are not being very nice.
Right.
and, and can you talk about that? How can we address the drama driven culture?
Yeah.
I'll lob that softball over to you, man.
That's great. Man, I instantly think about my stint as the president of the CCA.
Ah.
And, you know, like there were a few blow-ups on Facebook that just oh man, it was just so frustrating to deal with. Typically, because whether people overreacting, just people being drama kings, drama queens, but it's more drama kings. I think so. So what do you do? How do you deal with it? One, like one thing I did is I would always get on and like, okay, let's here's a culture reset. Here's
Mm,
what we're about, and just coming out as a leader, just saying, hey, here's what we are about. And if like typically in these the instances that we saw was people having the drama was somebody having a problem with somebody. So it was Facebook arguing
mm,
that, of course, and people like seeing bonfires. That's just
mm,
reality. So calling it out and creating that culture is like, yo, that's not what we're about. If you got a problem with somebody, get on the phone with them. Don't do it on Facebook because that's a sign of immaturity. And
mhm.
just calling it what it is.
I remember seeing that message from you. I
Yeah,
remember seeing you address the CCA in a video message and
yeah,
saying exactly that. Get on the phone,
yeah.
talk to them. Yeah. Wow.
And so it's so let's say for instance if whatever. So the question is, one, if what's the opposite of drama driven?
Mm,
So if if there are people who are drama driven, or the drama driven energy is kind of slowing down the train a little bit, what is the opposite, and how do you set vision, a goal, or core value that represents the opposite of the drama vision, drama drivenness, and create a saying, a slogan behind it, and just and you market that, whatever that, and the word that I'm thinking is a core value. What's that core value? Uh, it could be we are not drop. Just for instance, we're not drama driven, and so every time that stuff shows up, it's like, yo, we're not drama driven. This is a drama driven post. That's not what we're about. And just consistently having to reset it like that and calling it out every time. I think that's one way you deal with it. But then also, whatever that core value is, you celebrate that. You point everything to that. You don't necessarily let it shine when the drama shows up,
mm.
but you point to it and celebrate it when the drama's not there. And when you see it, like, yo, this is what we're about. We're about this, because we are not drama driven. We celebrate each other. Boom, 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 boom.
That's good, man. So this is what came to mind for me as you're talking about that. What is the opposite of drama driven? And I think it's diffusing conflict. I don't know if that's the right wording,
Okay.
but when when a bomb is diffused, or when there's something that could be explosive,
Mm-hmm.
and the situation is alleviated,
Right.
that's what we want to get to. And actually, I guess that comes down to the rooms too. Like, not even necessarily personal individual conflict, which, I mean, we've had that big time,
Yeah.
big time. And and it's not the stuff that's being surfaced on Facebook. I told the people that monitor the Facebook group, if we got a negative throwing mud post, it's just not going to make it on
Yeah.
on the page anymore. We don't need it.
Right.
There's been enough of that garbage. And it's fine to show some of that and have people see that, okay, there's things
Yeah.
that people can learn from it, but it gets too toxic too quick, so we're
Right.
just shutting it down. But so the stuff that's not on the Facebook, like, I get people contacting me and saying, this person did this and this, and then somebody else is saying this person did this and this. Now I got to try to investigate, and it's like, oh.
You got time to do that mess, man.
Right. It's like, and you can't do it. Like,
Right.
ugh. I mean, even people send photo and video evidence. I'm like, man,
So,
like,
but here's what I started doing. Like in the CCA, I started saying when people would call me with the drama,
mm-hmm,
I would say, hey, did you call them?
Okay.
And they're like, no, I didn't. I just decided to call you. Like, okay, so just know that the Soapstone is a little different, particularly because with the CCA, everybody claimed that they were Christians.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I could kind of hold a like, hey, so there's this Christian principle for those who listen and don't know. There's this Christian principle that says if your brother offends you, you go and talk to him yourself.
Yeah.
Then if that doesn't work, you get another party and you go to them still in private. You know, get
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
a get a second or third person. And then if that doesn't work, then you go public and kind of,
Yeah.
grade
Yeah.
that person. So when somebody come to me, I was like, yo, did you talk to him did you talk to them by yourself? Like, no. Like, so you skipping steps. Because the goal isn't necessarily while the goal is not necessarily to put somebody in a place, the goal is for Christian unity, for us to be unified.
Mm-hmm.
So if you skip the step, why are you skipping a step in unity? Maybe you want to make this about you and your own desire. So maybe it's more about you than the actual offense that somebody gave.
Mm.
So let me take that to the soapstone. So how does that work? Similar in soapstone, and like even though it's not necessarily Christian, here's the principle. Like if somebody did something and I'm coming to you, Aaron, because you own this, you created that world. Why am I coming to you? Maybe I want some favor
Yeah.
from Aaron. So now I'm tattletelling.
Yeah.
And so then Aaron responsibility, what I would do is I would call people to a higher standard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I know that bothered you. I know it bothers you so much. You want to blast them publicly. But that's not the way you're supposed to go about it. If you truly are a more mature person or growing towards maturity, your responsibility is to go to them and talk to them. And if you ain't gonna go talk to them, then it shouldn't be a problem then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I found is people would even squash it. Like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
well, I don't want to go talk to him, so it's not a problem. I just realized I was making them.
All right, that works. Yeah.
Right? So yeah, so that's what and that started helping me not that lightened the burden some,
Yeah. Yeah.
but also I had to make sure that I could have those conversations with integrity. So whenever somebody did something
Oh.
that offended me or that bothered me, dude, I pick up the phone like, yo,
Yeah.
hey, explain to me this post. Like I saw this post, I'm interpreting it one way, and I
Yeah.
realize that I can be off. So help me understand what you were saying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
notice what I did there. I didn't go to the person assuming that their perspective was how I interpreted. I gave them the benefit of doubt
Yeah.
and let them explain to what their stuff was. And sometimes I got a little bit of clarity, and sometimes I got a little bit of confirmation that yeah, I read it right. They're off.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Right. Right.
So
So I'm taking some notes here because, and this, I love the way that these conversations just come together and build off themselves. Because we talked about being a culture that's the opposite of drama driven, a culture that diffuses conflict. And now we've just walked through this conflict resolution process, and I love it when biblical wisdom is applicable outside of churches, because
yeah,
that process that you just laid out, like, I mean, that's just a good process.
it is,
That's,
bro.
yeah. So like the conflict resolution process, the soapstone conflict resolution process that we thought up by ourselves or got from the Bible or whatever.
Yeah.
First it's one-on-one. If we got a
Right.
problem with somebody, we address it one-on-one. We don't have to go talk to other people about it. Try to hit it directly one-on-one. If that can't be accomplished, get a neutral third party involved in the conversation. And then if that don't work, If that doesn't work, then try to get leadership involved.
Yeah.
I That's a good I mean, this is going to be published, but before people hear this podcast, this process will be published, and they'll hear it and they'll be like, "Oh, that's where that came from."
Yeah. Yeah, it's good, man. I just think, and I even try to do that on Facebook. If I see something inappropriate that I don't want to see or that's offensive, instead of clicking report,
Yeah.
report anonymously,
Ooh.
because that's what a lot of people do. They hide behind their Facebook gangsters. They
Uh,
tell people like, man, they did that. I got them shut down, but you never went to the person yourself. So I typically like, hey, and I try to be very gracious. Like, hey, I saw you posted this. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but yo, it was kind of, yeah, it was kind of out of pocket. And so, from my vantage point,
Man, that brings up another good point, because the we've been screaming report, report, report from the rooftops, because people that experience something that's against the community standards, racism,
yeah,
homophobia, bullying, things like this, we've been saying report that, which maybe we should keep saying that,
yeah,
but maybe it should be, tell them it's against the standards and then report. I don't know. That might be a little different though, because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
hostile.
Yeah, on stage, on like when it's public on stage, somebody saying something, you got to decide. What I have seen in the Soapstone was this dude got up and he said he gave a racist joke, dude, about black people,
Uh-huh.
and dude, I was like, did he really just say that? And some people like, man, that was funny. And then other black folks are like, yo, let's talk about it. Like, because dude,
Oh, okay.
they went outside and started challenging the dude. And some of the Soapstone gatekeepers like reported, so we had the opportunity to vote him out. And
The
you know what?
the person that made the joke.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
So they were outside talking, and he was talking noise, man,
Mm,
talking a lot. He talking a whole lot of noise. And when it came up to vote him out, everybody like, no, don't vote him out, y'all. No, let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep talking to him.
yeah.
But by the time everybody had voted him out, he was gone, of course. And then people like, man, I wish y'all wouldn't have done that. Like, we should have
Oh,
kept
okay.
talking to that dude. But
Wow.
clearly that dude was immature because he couldn't even have the decent conversation,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, I don't know. So the goal, so in my mind, I'm thinking, what's the ultimate goal? Is the ultimate goal for Soapstone to develop leaders, and mature human beings? Because if you want to develop leaders and mature human beings, then like sometimes you gotta be able the mature people have to be okay with not necessarily cutting something off at the head right away,
Yeah.
but just like, hey, let's have this conversation and training
Mm.
people how to deal with when the drama or the conflict rises.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah. That's first off, that's awfully big of the people that were involved in that situation to hear something that was incredibly offensive and racist, and to not respond angrily, but to respond from an education standpoint.
Yeah,
That's big of people to do. And like I've talked to people, and I've said, we can't really sniff out intent, but you can
right.
a little bit. And sometimes there's a hostile intent, and sometimes people are just ignorant.
Yeah.
And if they're ignorant, actually, I had the opportunity to have this conversation with somebody right in front of the person I was talking about. And
Wow.
I was like, listen to what this person said. It's just because he's ignorant. He doesn't get it.
Yeah.
and the guy's like, "Hey, I'm right here." I'm like, "Good. I'm glad you're here." And he's like, "You're offensive. You're calling me ignorant." I'm like, "Do you know what ignorant means, or are you ignorant?" But
That's terrible.
but yeah, I mean, sometimes people just don't know. They're not educated on how it's going to impact somebody else, or the fact
Yeah.
that, hey, this is why that hurts. And they're just trying to be funny or whatever. But yeah, sometimes people are ignorant, and a little bit of education. And that concept of, if we're trying to, without putting ourselves in too high of a mission here, if we're trying to make the world a better place, then the people that are in a spot to be rightfully offended sometimes need to push past that, and look to help instead.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Man.
The way that the way that you change your well, change is the wrong word. The way that you help a rebellious teenager is not always to kick them out, even though sometimes that might need be necessary.
Yeah.
But to have some conversations about bring understanding about the offenses that are being made.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to use teenagers for that example, but it's just that's where my mind goes to. Because ultimately, a lot of times we want control, and not necessarily that's not a negative thing. Let me say that, like like in a comedy club, even as a comedian on stage, like we want to control the room. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Like the stuff
Yeah. You're
doesn't
right.
get out of whack.
Yeah.
So control isn't a bad thing, but what happens when things are out of control? Do you want to? And I'm of the impression where, man, I want people to voluntarily follow me
Yeah.
as opposed to making them follow me.
Mm.
You know,
Boy,
and
that's a big difference.
dude, absolutely. They say a
Yeah.
true leader takes a walk and other people follow him.
Mm.
But a person who thinks they're a leader and is not, when he goes on a walk, he's just going for a walk
That's,
by
yeah,
himself.
that's beautiful. That could be embroidered on a pillow.
Yeah.
Oh man. Uh Golly, we're 36 minutes in, and we've run a marathon. We got a lot of stuff covered already, man. Yeah, it's like, what is the goal of the soapstone? Is the goal to keep it a pristine environment, or is the goal to grow together? Because they're not the same thing at all. In fact, they're
Yeah.
they're they're opposites. If the goal is to maintain a pristine environment, then first offense, boom, you get rid of somebody.
Right.
But if the goal is to grow together, then you better believe it's going to go off the rails sometimes.
And dude, but I've seen you in there when somebody, like, if the goal would have been, you know, the first thing that you said, when we were in the room together a few times as a world creator, you could have like, get out of here. But dude, I've seen you graciously just walk with somebody through that stuff, dude. Even on stage, you're like, hey, we're kind of doing something. Could you get off stage? And I'm sitting watching, I'm like, man, this dude is amazingly gracious and patient.
I am until I'm not, and
Yeah.
then and
But
then
that's
the
great
sword and
though.
the soapstone comes out.
Yeah, but it's good. It's like, hey, I mean, and that's respectable. Like, hey, yo, he asked you a few times. Now you get the sword. It's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why, like, once somebody gets by the way, Random Man, he also has the ability to remove people, and he's probably more patient than I am.
wow.
And then I get like people that come up to me, and I mean, there's two things that I hear that I just really love hearing. That's a sarcastic remark, by the way. But I get people that come up and they're like, "Hey, there's some kind of bug. Every time I come into the world, I just teleport to this thing and I fall through this door, and then it teleports me back out." And I'm like, "No kidding." and you have no idea how that happened, huh? No, I just yeah. So I'll give you a hint. Somebody hit you with either the sword or the spear, and and you don't remember anything about that.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it's yeah, and then the other thing that people will say is, oh, I got removed for no reason, and now I want to come back. And I don't know. I mean, sometimes I'll say, you know what? All right, let's bring you back, give you another
Yeah,
shot. Other times, well, and if they say I screwed up, hey, you know what, man, I was out of line. I got removed. I want to come back. Then they'll come back. Even if we get burned again down the road, if they say that, they'll come back. But when they say, yeah, I don't know what happened. Nah, I don't know how to undo it. Sorry, bud.
dude, that teenage girl who got booted out because she was kept coming on stage,
Oh, yeah.
and she came back on stage, dude. She came back in, and she was apologizing on stage.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, and that was cool.
That
That
was
was,
so cool.
yeah.
I ran because we were in the middle of a conversation where somebody was talking to you, and I heard her, and I ran up. I ran from backstage, like, man, I want to encourage her.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was it was cool, man.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Because, and something was dramatic was going on where she was at. And
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. It's stuff like that. Like, yeah, that's disruptive. That was a disruptive situation. It was a distracting situation. It wasn't a good situation. But what does it really hurt?
right. And I think we probably should tell people who don't know what's going on, like what happened.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah. So y'all, Aaron and I were on
Oh, this is
stage,
for more than just me and you? That's right.
right? So Aaron and I were on stage, and this girl kept coming on. She kept coming on stage, and Aaron kept graciously saying, "Hey, we need you to go off stage." And she kept inching her way on, and then you heard her say, something." She said she was saying to somebody who was actually in her physical space. And then she was like, "Mom, shut the door, get out." Like, whoa. So by that time, everybody's like, "Yeah, get her out of here." Like, but then she came back later and man apologized, which is so good.
Yeah, that was cool. We should probably talk about what we were doing there. So for the last podcast, actually, I guess we don't even really have to talk about it because the people listening to this probably would have just listened to that. But last week we got to record the podcast in virtual reality at the Soapstone. We ran into technical difficulties on Zencaster, the platform that we normally record on. And so we just jumped in there and came into a full room and said, "Hey, y'all want to hear us record our podcast?" And everybody, well, not everybody, most of the people were like, "Yeah," and it was great.
That was so cool. Even that wasn't Mark Zuckerberg that came in though.
No, yeah, there is. So there is the lookalike, which I got a doppelganger. Actually, I think they deleted the account, but there was somebody that created a clone account of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
so Mark, if you're listening, I know how it feels, man.
that's so cool. Yeah, but I'm sorry, I interrupted. You said, man,
No,
so yeah, we were
oh,
able to,
yeah, and that was kind of that working without a net. The fact is, like, these recording in this platform where you and I are just looking at each other and we're just dynamically spitballing back and forth. Like, this works really well. Like,
yeah,
there's hardly any editing needed going through this. Oftentimes I will, like, we hit play and then we hit stop, and that entire thing from start to finish will be the podcast,
right.
but then we went in there and it's chaos and it's unpredictable, but it felt good,
It did.
to step into the unknown, step into the challenge a little bit and just work through it, be able to problem solve on the spot.
Yeah, and taking questions and interacting with
Ooh,
people. That was the beautiful part to me. But it's
yeah.
funny doing it. I was like, Man, I don't know how this podcast is gonna turn out.
I had my concerns as well.
But man, but again, it's for me the value that we added to people and that people took away, being able to just have them conversations and them asking us questions was so good, man.
Right. Well, and that's what happens with this conversation. Like it's not scripted out. You know, we might have some bullet points that we want to hit, but we're waiting for those organic learning and teachable moments to come up.
Right.
And then just addressing them. And that's what it turned into in the Soapstone. You know,
Absolutely.
we just were able to organically riff and engage with people. And I mean that's just special.
Absolutely, dude. So good, brother. So good.
Yeah.
So what are the other and like I know we don't have a lot of time left, dude. Is you said problems. We only talked about one.
Yeah. So we've done this thing, which is a good thing, where we've brought in 6 hosts that are the
Yes.
Soapstone hosts.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, dude.
dude, it's so good. And these 6 hosts, like they're leaders, they're host leaders. You
Yeah.
know, all of them have the outlook that they're going to be able to build people up to do what they're doing. Like none of them are like, I got to hold on to this thing. They're like, I'm going to build people up and to do what I'm doing. And it's good, you know. But you know, it was the techs before, and now there's the techs and the hosts,
Right.
and there's a little bit of, you know, hierarchy driven drama. You know, there's a little bit of jealousy here and there. There's a little bit of questioning of, okay, where do I lie in the pecking order? And I titled it "Status Silos." You know, and I don't know quite what to do about it.
Man. Yeah, that's my mind goes to when else has that when else has it showed up? So I know when there were two brothers or the disciples arguing, well, one mom came like, "Hey man, let my sons have some seats up beside you," or the or the disciples saying asking who was the greatest
Mm,
in the kingdom,
mm,
and Jesus was like, "Man, the greatest among you be the servants."
yeah.
So like you want status, start washing some jokers' feet.
Mm.
That's who. That's who. So like I don't know. He didn't when Jesus was doing that and leading them or rebuking their status seeking, he pointed to humility
Mm.
as opposed to okay, let me start. Okay, you in charge. I'm gonna put okay. You rank number one disciple. You rank 2, 3, 4. Uh, Judas, you right now you 10, but we're gonna move you to 12 when we go get something to eat. Like he never necessarily ranked them.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was there were a few of them who were like closer to him, so it went on just an occasional extra camping trip with him. But it was like, yo, okay, you want status, model what I'm doing, and that's serving people. I think of the biggest thing like that sticks out to me is whoever that brother is that's in charge of the broom. Like you see a person around there.
Right.
To me, like, dude, he's serving and don't have to serve. Like, dude, you don't have to sweep. Ain't no dust in the metaverse, but you
Man of the
still
beers, shout out to you.
sweep.
Yeah.
But you sleeping. So it's like, man, like let's, and again, I don't know, like, what's the? It's the metaverse. Well, I'm saying that, but let me finish it. It's the metaverse. Why you seeking status?
Yeah.
But having said that, who you are in real life
Yeah.
is multiplied and underscore in the metaverse. So if you want status approval in real life, when you get in the metaverse, you're gonna start to see it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's helping people to see that and how to embrace humility as opposed to the pecking order. Like with all of it, it seems like it's people who want status, whether it's the people who start drama because they just want to say that they got a panic button and can push and say that the world is on fire or the code has been compromised, or if it's I'm the I want to be in charge because I'm a tech person. Now you got these. Now you got the people who the show MCs. I'm losing a little bit of control. Uh, that that strokes my ego or gives me some type of status quo that I'm seeking, some type of affirmation, uh, a check in my identity. So, but again, all of that, that's the beauty of what we do. Like there's the idea in Christendom is like as you are going, you help people become better. You help them look better. So as you're going through the metaverse, you help people see this stuff in themselves and how to work that stuff out.
Hmm.
That's a greater burden though.
Yeah.
But sometimes it could be a statement like, yo, like, what is it about status that you want so bad that you want to be a tech leader or MC and have some status over the tech person, over the MC? Like, yo, that's a character. Something's going on with the character.
Yeah.
Not aside from understanding who's in order. Because I tell you, I did get frustrated with a tech person. Every time I told a joke, they hit the boom, boom, boom. Ksh. I'm like, dude, stop doing that.
Yeah. Right.
Or if the joke don't go good, like, wah.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Those should be lightly peppered in, like,
Right.
like, yeah. Or the rapid fire hit when they hit it like 10 times in a row, like,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
So, man, coming back to what you said about about the first issue, what's the opposite of what's happened? What's the opposite of being drama driven?
Right.
So, really, what we're talking about, what's the opposite of being status driven? And it's humility and service.
Yeah.
So kind of I've gotta do that. And then the other thing with the text, like, I mean, I feel like I've kind of failed them a bit as a leader. And there's not, I mean, part of it's been intentional, like not intentionally failing them, but my approach has been intentional to get more people in there than is just the minimum, and kind of let them decide what's the right action to take and really empower them. But I feel like I might have gone way too far in that direction, to where like the people that are in the tech position now, um, I don't think they have leadership structure that they can go to necessarily, because it's
Yeah.
kind of like out of 150 people, they're all considered equal. And I'm not accessible that often.
Right.
I mean, I am and I'm not. I'm engaged, but if somebody decides, hey, I want to go talk to Aaron, they can't always get me.
Yeah.
Nor do I want them to, frankly, just because that's it like, I'm not the guy with the answers.
Yeah.
I'm just a guy. but but again, I feel like I might have gone too far in that direction, to
Hmm.
where like now you've got great potential tech leaders that may have gotten frustrated, moved on, and you got maybe not great tech leaders that are stepping up into that position and aren't being really groomed, and you talked about it, under three things that trembles, and the fourth one it crumbles,
Yeah.
yeah. And if you don't catch that quote, that slaughtered misrepresentation of a quote, go back and listen to one of the first episodes, because Jason said it a lot better than I did.
Yeah. So the principle is, like who are the faithful ones? Who in these areas are showing themselves to be faithful, and you consistently entrust those things to them. That's the discipleship principle. 2 Timothy 2:2. The things that you heard, the things that you've learned from me, entrust those to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. And so it's okay, who's showing themselves as faithful, even though they might have some quirks about them, but you entrust those things to them so that they'll go back and show other people. You don't want the people who are unfaithful. So you find those who are the faithful tech people, who are the faithful MCs, and you drill those core values in them. I'm like, yo, this is what we're about this, and everybody has to know that. So I need y'all to be champions of this. I need y'all to spread it.
Yeah.
We're more about humility than trying to run this virtual world.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've got those, like the 6 core hosts that are going to be carrying it forward to other hosts. I think I need to get that same like half dozen or 10 or however many people that are considered tech leaders,
Yeah.
that can be the people that are, not necessarily working tech, but popping into multiple different instances and pointing people in the right direction.
Right.
That's a tough thing to say on a leadership podcast. How to navigate exponential growth and all this, and listen to us and talk about leadership, but then say, you know what, I feel like I kind of blew it on this one, but
But I think that's the thing to say in the leadership podcast, because how many leaders blow it and never want to admit it, and everybody else knows that they're blowing it. Not saying, and I'm not saying everybody knows that you're blowing it. I don't think that's the case, but I'm saying there are a lot of organizations that the leader's blowing it and everybody sees it, and he just won't say anything or she won't say anything, and they're acting like everything's okay. The authenticity is huge. Like when somebody's blowing it and they can admit that they're blowing it, like, oh, you know what? I'll roll with you even more now. You know what? My sword is committed to you. I've been watching. You know what I'm saying? You have my sword,
yeah,
Lord. You have my
and
sword.
my hammer.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, this is so good. Thank you once again for taking the time. Thank you for being involved in this, breathing into me, breathing into the Soapstone, breathing into the people that are in the Soapstone, breathing into the people that don't even know what virtual reality is, but might have just stumbled onto this podcast.
No doubt.
It is valuable. You're valuable. Thanks, man.
Oh, takes value to no value, brother.
Takes one to know one.
Thanks for joining us on this adventure. We will be back next week with a brand new episode, and you can always find us at jasonearls.com, theunemployedalcoholic.com, or at the Soapstone Comedy Club in Horizon Worlds.